If there's one thing the holiday season is good for, it's cozying up by a warm fire or colorful LED lights, gathering with loved ones, and apparently playing games about superheroes. It's like the old saying goes, if I had a nickel for every time one of the most popular superheroes of all time got a sort of a side game in an acclaimed AAA series that decided to set itself during Christmas time, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it is weird that it happened twice. Why did this happen? What is it about Christmas that makes a good setting for a Spider-Man origin and a Batman adventure? Well, pour yourself a hot cocoa and dig into some of your favorite Christmas cookies because we're about to compare Insomniac's Spider-Man series to the Batman Arkham saga through a lens of holiday cheer. If you're at all invested in either of these 2 superhero AAA gaming franchises, you're no stranger to seeing the latest webhead gaming franchise compared to the legendary Batman Arkham saga. Batman Arkham Asylum hit the scene in 2009 when the high mark for superhero games and really licensed games overall was still Spider-Man 2 on the PlayStation 2, a game that Activision was seemingly unable to ever top again when they called the shots for Spidey. Arkham Asylum was a literal game changer, paving the way for almost 2 decades of reputable game studios embracing multimedia IP from Lord of the Rings to Wolverine. For better or worse. But the 2 titans of the licensed IP series, at least critically, commercially, and among fans, are pretty far and away the Batman Arkham and Marvel's Spider-Man series. Naturally, there's a lot of overlap between these fandoms, considering these are arguably the 2 most popular modern superheroes, but diehard fans of both franchises will frequently fight over which series is better. But that's not why we're here today, at least in the grand scheme. Both of these franchises have, for simplicity's sake, and for this video, a side game, which is slightly separate from the mainline entries, and we're going to compare them, because for some reason, they actually have a lot in common. Like a lot. Batman Arkham Origins and Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. Starting with Batman Arkham Origins, a prequel to the Batman Arkham series released in 2013, and this game was sort of positioned to fail. The Batman Arkham series is incredibly important to me. Arkham Asylum is what made me make the jump from really only playing games on the Wii, DS, and PS2 to finally embracing the HD consoles. Arkham City was maybe my most anticipated game of all time leading up to its release. And it's still in my top 10 favorites ever. It's a great game. So you may be surprised to learn my history with Arkham Origins. Why WB decided to follow Arkham City up by putting a brand new Arkham game out on the previous console generation the same fall that next gen launched baffles me. Even me, someone who lived and breathed Batman Arkham, I still love it. I never played it at all until like a week ago. And I know I'm not alone. I'm sure there are at least 5 other people who wanted to play this Batman game but sold their old console and just couldn't play it on the new one. As someone who mained PlayStation until recently, my only option available was to stream it, which, I'd rather Batman need to get information out of me than do that. Even when I got an Xbox Series S, it wasn't available digitally. It is backwards compatible if I had a disc and a disk drive, but otherwise, you're out of luck if you want to play this Batman game. Arkham Origins also wasn't made by Rocksteady. It was developed by WB Montreal, who would go on to make Gotham Knights. So yeah, the team struggled to get a game out for almost a decade following the release of Arkham Origins, and allegedly had several false starts with other DC games. In hindsight, WB excluding this title from future Arkham series collections and really refusing to mention it like ever, it really just feels like this very solid game was buried from the jump. It is the black sheep of the Arkham series if we are not including Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, on the other hand, actually this also launched in tandem with the new console generation, only this time it essentially carried that fall for its publisher. Announced at the first big PlayStation 5 showcase and set to release with the PlayStation 5 on launch day, Sony viewed this game as a massive flagship title for them in 2020. While technically Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is a PlayStation 4 game with a PS5 version, it was at least playable on both consoles. Where Batman Arkham Origins has been buried in the Batman Arkham saga, Spider-Man Miles Morales is a celebrated entry by its publisher, seemingly setting a new mold for what Insomniac envisions their growing Marvel universe to be. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales almost exists as a replacement for DLC. Some people did cling on to that in a pretty negative way and called it a glorified DLC, but I also call burrito bowls healthy because they have vegetables in it, and that does not make it true. The game, while shorter than the first and second Spider-Man titles from Insomniac, brought with it some tweaks to how quests are handled, a new ability suite that would be used in 2023's entry instead of 2018's Gadget Wheel, and a host of other quality of life features that would influence Marvel's Spider-Man 2. It acted as a bit of a bridge mechanically, while still offering a really strong story for Miles. But for some, the impact of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 may have actually been lessened by Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales. After completion of the main story of Spider-Man 2, a pretty common conversation online began to take shape that players are starting to get a little tired of Marvel's New York in what's now 3 Spider-Man adventures in a relatively short time span. This is also something that Batman Arkham Origins faced when it was first released. Not only was it not the A-team of Rocksteady, but the game dropped just 2 years after Batman Arkham City, and to some, Arkham Origins felt a bit too samey, which only amplified the Batman fatigue conversation that enshrouded 2015's Batman Arkham Knight. And who knows, maybe all these people screaming Batman fatigue at Rocksteady after they made Arkham Knight is why they decided to pivot, and maybe the dominoes fell to the point where that's why we got Suicide Squad today, who knows? Today, both of these games have grown quite the base of supporters within their respective franchises. Many say Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is better than Marvel's Spider-Man 2. I say that. And in a post-Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League world, there's a huge fervor for any sort of classic Arkham to come back. And a follow-up to Arkham Origins is exactly what a lot of people have been begging for. Hell, it's probably why so many people got bummed out to learn that Roger Craig Smith's Batman return in a new Arkham game this year with Batman Arkham Shadow ended up being a MetaQuest 3 exclusive. But more than just existing as a not quite the real deal, filling time entry in their respective franchises, both of these games actually have a lot in common. They both follow the iconic superhero in an inexperienced and somewhat naive, crucial point in their burgeoning vigilante careers. Both reuse the map from a prior game with some spruced up details. Both start with a tutorial that sees you square up with one of those bosses. And the reason we're here, both of these games take place during Christmas time. As far as the theming goes, both Gotham City and Marvel's New York have gotten a makeover of holiday cheer, with everything from light displays to trees and garland decorating a snowy city skyline. Arkham Origins even works in some holiday jingles into its score, reminiscent of the whimsical Tim Burton's Batman Returns, which also takes place during Christmas. Spider-Man Miles Morales gives the character a special winter-themed outfit to unlock, while web-swinging through wreaths. It's pretty sweet. Aesthetically, both of these games largely use the Christmas setting to slap a new coat of paint on something familiar. And I think that was a pretty novel way to reuse a map. Arkham Origins does expand on Gotham, allowing players to explore the Arkham City map with a bit of a makeover. Since this is a prequel, you get to explore it before it becomes really run down. Even still, giving the crime-filled streets of Gotham a bit of a warm, cozy Christmas glow in contrast to this very brutish Batman being hunted by assassins. What can I say? It works for me. It also lets Batman look at goons and say things like,
"Pumpkin the Santa hat must be in charge."
Beyond borrowing mechanics from the previous games to build a foundation, the Christmas layer just makes things feel fresh all around. It probably would only work this one time. Like, if Marvel's Venom Jingle All the Way came out to reuse assets and hide it behind a holiday vibe. I mean, I would kind of love that, picturing it now, but you get what I mean, diminishing returns. In an age where today, most AAA games take on average 5 or 6 years, optimistically, to come out, it's made the gap for sequels feel pretty long and has been filled with remasters and remakes. I have a lot of respect for games like Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, which takes something mechanically very sound and turns around to follow up with a new angle or a new storyline or some new gimmick to feel fresh while the next big thing is cooking, rather than just repackaging something we've already played before. That sentiment is exactly why I think the Yakuza or Like a Dragon series has become so popular. The series feeds its fans so well, and it's hard to say there's any drastic overlap there right now. Since 2020, you've had the soft reboot that added turn-based combat, a game where Kiryu and Majima star in a centuries-old storyline, Secret Agent Kiryu, the follow-up to the soft reboot, and in 2025 you get Majima as a pirate. That's an incredible output, with every entry sharing some assets but taking a big swing creatively with a single mechanic or theme that lets the series feel like it's not stagnating, while fans aren't kept waiting 5, 7, or 10 years for a follow-up. Now, the reasoning for this is all well and good, but as far as who does Christmas better, Batman always has a coziness to me even in its darkest moments, and having this die-hard cranked up to 11 style plot where it's Batman against the 8 deadly assassins while kids are in their beds dreaming of sugar plums, it just works. Not really in an ironic way, just in a, man, Batman is always on it, especially early in his career. It is just the mask. It is a bit edgier than the Arkham trilogy, but it has a bit of a charm to it to me, I don't know. Spider-Man, I think, is able to work the Christmas element into the narrative a bit better because, more than aesthetics, you really get to explore the personal sacrifices the man makes to make sure the symbol is there for the city. We never got to see Peter struggle with teenage issues and drama while learning to be Spider-Man as a focal point in these games, so having Miles be able to do it through juggling supporting his mom, dealing with an important family dinner looming over his head, and reuniting with an old friend who has some radical political views, it's all very thematic and just fits the holiday setting. Plus, you get to walk through his New York apartment at Christmas time. Very underrated that they did this, but I love that they did it, and I don't think they would have if it wasn't a Christmas game. Personally, as someone whose favorite holiday is Christmas, it is really nice that two of my favorite superheroes each got really strong games using the holiday as a backdrop. Both aren't my favorites in their respective franchises, but more than anything, to me, it really is just wild that it happened twice. And will it ever again? Hard to say. Like I mentioned, using a holiday as a way to repackage a game or an open world map, it's a great idea. I'll give another shout out to another superhero game, Infamous Festival of Blood, which was a standalone release and gave the map of New Marais a Halloween vampiric makeover. Played a ton of that. Just fun stuff I think we should be doing more of. Does that mean that new Wonder Woman game will get like a Thanksgiving expand-alone? Probably not, but I would be open to it. So where do you stand on these two superhero Christmas adventures? Do you have a favorite between the two? And I guess since we're already comparing, which franchise do you prefer overall, Arkham or Insomniac's Spider-Man? Be sure to let us know. As always, thank you for watching, happy holidays, and stay tuned to Game Rant for more videos like this.